Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Hello there. Welcome to the online home of Fate Mag Radio. I am the voice of Fate Magazine. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and I am so pleased that you're here tonight. We have had just kind of a zany-wany weekend, and I am so glad to be closing that off with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. And I'll tell you, the reason for that is that she is someone who has all kinds of skills. She is a researcher into things that I study as well. She is somebody who has so many skills. She is a remote viewer. She is, obviously an empath. She has energy skills that are really off the chain. And the last time we spoke, she kind of blew my mind a little bit. I love that, as most of you know. But she is all about cryptozoology, paranormal, conspiracy, consciousness, technology, frequency, alien tie-ins, and things of that nature. And she has done research into cryptids, as well as the paranormal and varying psychic abilities. So I'm going to just bring her in because if I keep going like that, we're going to run out of things to talk about. So, Kim, I know, right? Kimberly McGeorge, I am so happy to welcome you to Fate Mag Radio.
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you for having me back.
Well, you know, I just enjoyed our conversations so much. And it's really funny because a bunch of my guests, my listeners, were kind of surprised when you were on with me.
Oh.
And I thought that was fun. But because you had done my aura reading, right?
Yeah, I think we did do that.
Pre-show. And
yeah.
the conversation that ensued from that was so interesting. And I thought that was just terrific. And one of my friends still kind of looks at me sideways.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm remembering. It's all coming back. Yeah, about your abilities and things. Yeah, that's right.
And so that was fun. And I just enjoy you so much. And you do cover so many different things. Your skills are just astonishing. You work with possessions and deliverance of same. You know, you're into your versed in consciousness, alternate healing, and frequency. In fact, you are I always say a holistic MD, but that's not accurate. What is the naturopath? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
A naturopath, either way. Yeah, both is correct.
I just think that you have so many different things in your book. The Secret to Everything. This one is Lyme and autoimmune, and I found it interesting that you had that particular subtitle, and I had recently had someone on who had suffered from Lyme.
Oh, okay.
And so to me, the timing was just brilliant. And,
right.
You know, I'm going to let people know that the websites to reach you are www.haelo.com/secret of everything, or you can just go the easy route with www.secret2everything.com. And what would you prefer to start with? Or are you going to just let me run wildly down the road here?
Oh, I'm just going to I'll just riff with you. You can just start and we'll see where we end up.
Well, I had told you that I am really interested because of your consciousness and frequency work, as well as the alternate healing. But what the heck is going on in this world right now? It's crazy.
It really is, and I don't know how woo-woo you want me to go, because actually...
Well, just don't alienate all of the people in the room, but...
We can alienate.
Some of them are okay.
Don't alienate them, or go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Well, just, we'll walk a thin line there.
Okay.
But I am curious, because I am old, and I have never felt the energy the way it is today, right now. And it's frightening to me because it's very virulent, I guess would be a word for it. But I'm just curious what you feel.
Right. I have a little bit of course, you can imagine, different slant on things, because you have to remember I'm highly involved with various organizations and technology, things like that. So really, all the sci-fi stuff that we watch in the movies is really a lot truer than we think. So
yes,
many people have heard of CERN. What'd you say, Kat?
I said I am aware of that. I have.
Okay. Right.
I have friends who
so
have
a lot of
worked in
people
that
are aware
industry.
of, CERN, CERN, and they think there's only one, and it's like, over in Switzerland, but there's really like 50, and CERN is really a lot to do with opening and closing portals and time travel. And so first of all, its point of view, we've been programmed in this reality on purpose for so long, of course, and I think we're kind of getting out of it and over it. We had the big non-disclosure, where they really didn't tell us anything. But, we are not alone. But so for so many years, they really closed us kind of in and inward, and we were obsessed with like ourselves and our, you can take this macro view to life, which is you pull way out and understand there's multiverses and there's galaxies and there's planets and there's races and there's timelines and there's realms that we know nothing about because we're not.
I mean, not everybody is human. That is cognitive.
That's right. Actually, there is no human. And let me tell you why I say that. Because the human is an avatar. It's a suit. It's a game suit that we play this game with. And my family's in human cloning. I don't know if we talked about that. So they are cloning, not just you and I, but they have templates that they clone. They have historical figures that they clone. And they've been doing it for hundreds, thousands, millions of years, actually. But again, we're not told, and history's wiped, yada, yada. But, and it's hidden. I mean, I think cloning is pretty well accepted by everyone now, though, even though they lie a lot about how and why and where and the extent of it. But I'm trying to think why. Kind of got drowning in cloning, and I forgot why I was going down that path. Oh, I know why. So first of all, we have this suit. Well, clone doesn't necessarily have a human spirit in it, or it can have a human spirit in it. And you're probably familiar with this, Kat, because a lot of human discarnates, and we're seeing even more now, just a whole topic in itself, we're seeing a lot of human discarnates or ghosts walking into spirited people as well as clones and empty containers. And then we have this simulation, which is what you think is real, but is literally kind of like the Truman Show, but not, because those people were like solid, kind of like actor props. A simulation is literally like a hologram that can appear solid. It can converse with you. It can think on its feet. It's like a gameplay robot. And then we have the actual robots. And of course, we all know, I can't think of her name, that girl, we've seen them talk and, with their back of their head exposed and all of that.
Yes.
So,
not to mention the little guy that can do the forward rolls and all the other stuff.
Oh,
and
gosh, I didn't think about that.
If them coming at you, you are shafted.
That's right. That's right. The dog, they call them like the animal kind of looking ones. Yeah, that's scary too. Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. But so we say human, but there is no human. Human is just describing the avatar. And, we've been many avatars, I believe, before this, and will be many avatars as part of consciousness after this. Right now, we're in this avatar. And Kat, again, as you know, this avatar can have 8 beings in it, or it can have 1 being in it, or it can have a human spirit in it that's been altered and fragmented through like MK Ultra trauma or satanic ritual abuse trauma. And then we have these different personalities and aspects of ourselves. And so I believe that the fire creation beings are holding up this reality, and that often our spirits are fragmented, kept from ourselves, so we don't remember and realize our own power, as well as our consciousness can be placed and doubled in clones that are then used by the military, used by the intelligence agencies, used by the corporations. I actually believe what I talk about, which is very ahead of its time for the most part. Some people are like, what? It'll be common knowledge in a couple of years. So I want to start with that. And then I want to go to, because of the technology, we've already seen the future. I mean, Project Looking Glass is the least. I mean, you guys can look that up and study it. There's thousands of pages of documentation on that. And I have actually worked on Project Looking Glass, so I'm very familiar with that technology. Again, technology, that's one of the things I do. But we know these different timelines. It's like a choose your own adventure. The human race as a whole chooses left, and then this happens, that you choose right, the right path, and this happens. You choose to go straight, and this happens. So we're dealing with different timelines. We're also dealing with other races messing in time, and we're dealing with us messing in time, the different Russia and United States and the CIA and this organization, the Monarch Corporation. So we've all messed around in time. And when you do mess around in time, people are always like, the Mandela effect, what is it? Well,
Right.
I can tell you exactly what it is. If you've watched the movie The Butterfly Effect, which you need to if you haven't, when we go back and forth in time to change history or even to observe, and I think they had a program on TV for a while, it didn't last very long, where they went into a time capsule and they went back, and just like the slightest thing, like if they left a handkerchief, it would like stop something from happening or start something happening. That is really true. They're showing you once again truth. So they've messed with time a lot, and that's the Mandela, that's what's going on with Mandela. And big things have changed and little things have changed. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. However, in April, I don't know the exact date, April, was it last year? April 2020, we got on a more positive timeline, believe it or not. So some of the destructive timelines, some of these doomsday scenario timelines are not going to happen. So I have a total opposite view due to inside knowledge and my connections than the general public. They're not letting you know the good stuff. All you're hearing is the dying cabal screaming and, igniting, chaos everywhere, really.
Well, it is.
Absolutely.
I understand the need to pit us against each other because that gives the people that want to do that control, in their mind, control over society.
Absolutely.
As long as we're focused on our anger and hatred of another subgroup, then we're paying no attention to the men behind the curtain. So, what do you feel is necessary to allow us to break that, or is it something that we even can break or want to?
It's a great question. There's a little thing, not just in 3D. People are always like, oh, I can't wait to get out of 3D and get into 4D or 5D or Ascend, and then there won't be any duality. Well, I know for a fact by connecting with myself, who's in upper dimensions, as well as other beings that I speak with that are presently in upper dimensions. There's duality in the fifth dimension, people, so get used to it. So then it becomes your choice, the black, white, the right, wrong, the Democrat, Republican, the for-vax, no, I want to say that, anti-vax, you know what I'm talking about, all of that. That's all duality. And a lot of it comes from religious programming, but a lot of it just comes from 3D. That's what they want. That's what the powers that be, the controllers, push. And as you stated, they want us pitted against each other, but it's bigger than that because their biggest fear is that you are going to remember who you are, that this isn't your first time around. Most of you are very old souls. Most of you were the gods and goddesses. You have all sorts of powers. You've been many soul families and races, not just one. People are like, what's my soul family? I'm like, which one? You're zillions of years old. Like, which of the 500 that you have chosen to be as an expression of consciousness? Because we have way more power, way more free will, way more magic in us than they want us to remember. So they want us drowning in all this fear. They want us drowning in wars, fear of nuclear war. They want us in drama with each other on a micro level within our families and on a macro level within the world and our countries and our towns. It's all distraction. They're like, you said it, Kat. Look over here. Don't look inward. Don't remember who you are. Don't remember any of your past lives and past powers. No, remember that you're more powerful than we are, and you're holding this whole reality up. Just don't remember. Run around like chickens, which is what I feel like the whole world is doing right now.
Yeah. Well, it is like the chicken with the head cut off. I mean, there's so much distraction because there has to be distraction, because if we focus and we get developed with our meditations and our transcendental experiences, then we do find out who we are. And that has to be the scariest thing ever.
Oh, they're afraid of it. That's why some of us, like me, are highly monitored. I mean, I have the U.S. Air Force, fly over my house directly. very close to my house today. I mean, I am highly monitored because I'm probably one of the most dangerous people on the planet because I remember. And I'm trying to help you all remember too. They don't, and that's their biggest fear. And so, their biggest fear isn't alien invasion. Their biggest fear is you guys waking up fully in full power.
It is. It truly is.
And you know what? It's interesting you said meditation because with our technology, we run, thousands of scans every month. And one of the things that's been coming up, people are like, Dr. Kim, help me remember. Why can't I remember? I take this class and I do this and I do this and I can't remember who I am. Well, of course, we're memory wiped with technology. We're downloaded and uploaded every night. We're mind wiped. It's in the foods, the nanotechnology. I mean, so many chemicals we've talked about. I know you've probably talked about the hardened meal. That's the least of it. We're not healthy. Again, we're distracted. We're in pain. But what the app and technology tells us, Kat, is that we're not doing the free things. We're not doing the simple things. The app says, most people's spirits want to be in nature. Wait till you hear this. 10 hours a week alone in nature. Alone. Did you hear the word alone? Not partying with your friends, not camping with your family. 10 hours in nature alone. 4 hours at least a week in silence, not even necessarily meditation, just silence alone. So, our spirit is screaming for these things, and that is the furthest thing from modern society, the very furthest. Because when we go inside, that's when we begin to connect with the parts of us that are outside this reality, because there is no time and space. We are connected to the all. We are the all. And we have access to all information at all times and all abilities at all times because we come out of the all, the void, the all possibility.
Yes. What do you suggest that people do to find their way back through all this?
Like I said, you got to start simple. You got to go out in nature and you got to just sit there in silence, as unbearable, without your cell phone, without your best friend, without your husband. Don't put yourself in danger. Don't go somewhere stupid and end up like in a 411 book. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying in a wise way, whether it's a local park, whether it's a hike, whether it's your own, special place in your backyard. I think we also have to create our own sacred spaces sometimes, whether it's within our homes. That's another thing that constantly comes up on the app is the, number one, we'll talk about feng shui, the energetic imbalance of our homes, the junk that's in our homes, the mold toxicity that's in most people's homes. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're like, why can't I be spiritual? Because we're so overwhelmed, and it's not an accident. We're so overwhelmed energetically. We're so overwhelmed mentally. We're so overwhelmed emotionally. Our bodies are exhausted. These avatars that they've given us, they're not made for longevity, that's for sure. They start breaking down, and that's very distracting, obviously, when you can't remember and you have arthritis and you have diabetes. I mean, these are real problems. So we have to get ourselves to this reset point. We also have to, not a big Bible fan. I think you might be, but I'm not. But the Bible does have some excellent advice occasionally, in my opinion. And one of the things it says is, we have not because we ask not. So we have all this assistance. We have these soul families. We have these people that have passed, your loved ones. They're still the same spirit they were. I mean, they may or may not choose to communicate with you, because just as in real relationships on earth, we outgrow friendships, we outgrow marriages, we outgrow family relationships. Of course, we outgrow jobs. We change, hopefully. If you don't change, you're probably wasting your time here. But
I have to stop.
Go
I
ahead.
apologize because we have blown by this break.
I'm sorry. It's me being catty.
No. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take this break, and we'll be right back. Y'all come back too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am so glad that you are here to enjoy my guest, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. And, I was sharing some of the chat room with you, and I cut you off dead cold. I apologize. But, there's just so much information. And like me, when I get started on these topics, it's hard to stop, isn't it? I mean, the energy that surrounds trying to get this message out or trying to help people to understand it, it's imperative, I feel, that people become a little more enlightened to what their true environment is.
I agree.
What they really are. When we spoke before and, we had that conversation and we can have it again, but, when you had done an aura reading on me, and for lack of a better term, there's a lot more to it than just the aura. But
sure.
There's so much information that can be found if you have the right tools to do it. And you are working very hard to make those tools available to just about everyone, which I personally appreciate. But, a dear friend of mine in chat said that, she's being the change. She's resigned to what's coming. And I don't think that you have to be resigned, do you? Is that the...
Here's the other thing that they don't want us to know is on both a global scale, of course, and on a micro, our own personal, lives that we live every day with us and our family. And this, Kat, we do create our own reality. We do. And it can be, and I struggle with this a little bit because there's a little bit of a disconnect between me and some people because it's taken me years, don't get me wrong. But I have managed to create the absolute most amazing reality that is pretty disassociated on purpose from the way the world's going. But I kind of need that place and that breath in order to do the work, and you understand how it is. Even paranormal work can be very test us and try us and be exhausting. So I kind of need the reality that I've created, but everybody's like, no, I don't create my own reality. This happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me. But it's not true. And again, when we grew up in school, and this was true of me, I was a very imaginative little girl. But that was frowned upon. Our imagination is frowned
I got in
upon.
trouble for that constantly.
Yeah. Did you too? And I would sit in class, I would write these amazing stories, beautiful imagination. And I got in trouble, and I'd read, amazing stories. I got in trouble. And, I was called a kind of a useless dreamer type, when we think that.
Yeah.
Society, we criticize, but they do that on purpose because really it's your imagination. So if you don't like how your life is, I'm going to give you a really simple assignment. Get a notebook. I don't care if it's 99 cents. I don't care if it's at the dollar store. I don't care if you want to buy a $50 journal. I don't care. You choose what you want to write in. And first of all, there's a very basic principle. You cannot get what you want if you don't know what you want. Most of you have not taken 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, half hour to sit and say, what do I want? What do I want my house to look like within the next year to 2 years? What do I want my job to look like within the next year? What do I want my relationships to look like? What do I want my bank account to look like? What do I want my purpose to be? How do I want to spend the hours of my day? So first of all, we need to get that vision, and this is true, and we don't hold that. And if there's a place you want to move or a vacation you want to take, we need to imagine that. You don't have to do vision boards and all that stuff. You guys all have an imagination. Maybe you forgotten it. Maybe you haven't used it. But write it down and spend a couple minutes before you go to bed. Open up your page after you write it down and just imagine. And just take one thing at a time. Imagine what it would like to wake up in your dream job, or maybe you want to be retired, or what would a day of retirement look like? What would it be like to own the horse farm you've always wanted to own, or to live in a cottage in the mountains or by the sea? You need to start bringing that frequency, because every single one of those things is a frequency, into your current reality. And of course, it might not be tangible, but it is tangible because all time and all space is now. So we need to start by, number one, by deciding what we want. And then 2, by beginning to imagine it. And I mean, if you do that for a year, if you really did what I just said in the last 5 minutes for a year, you will have brought some of those things into your reality. And you're like, no, it's not that simple. Oh yeah, it is. It's absolutely that simple.
Yes, it is.
And again, they don't want you to know that.
Well, my daughter always laughs because I do have a little place by the sea, right? And I'd always planned on getting the heck out of Dodge and going down there. And, then grandchildren started showing up, and my daughter laughed and said, oh, you kids got here first. And I'm like, well, but you know what? Kids grow up. And
that's right. They do.
Grandkids grow up.
That's right.
And, to forge the relationship that you want with them right off the bat is what you do. And then you can go with, moving forward. And Chet, I am primary caregiver for my mother who has senile dementia. Well, that also is not a life sentence. That is.
And it's a choice.
A choice to be that person.
It's a beautiful choice.
It is.
But she is choosing that. And that is the life she is choosing. I mean, yes. Some children wouldn't choose that. And I have no judgment either way. But it's a beautiful, sacrificial, loving choice. But we cannot be a victim in our own choices. So even though that's heavy and horrendous and painful, I believe most of us have chosen to come here because we are so powerful, because we've had zillions of years being gods, doing this, doing that, being quote good, being quote evil, doing everything right, doing everything wrong. And we chose to come here and play this game. And when you leave this game, when you pass, if you do not choose to come back here, the contrast of the pain, and there are beautiful moments, we all know here. It's not all 100% dark and evil and horrible here for most people.
No, it's not.
There's very precious, joyful highlights, but the contrast of pain is going to make you appreciate whatever you choose next, whether it's to come back here or whether it's to go on to a different realm, to a different group, to a different planet, to a different world, or to a different game. These people are eternal. Her mother is eternal and just as powerful, just as magical as she is. And so this is also, as you said, Kat, and I love that you said it, temporary. We are eternal beings. So how much is this life of 50, 100, 10, 5, whatever, each life, in the blink of it? It's not even a nanosecond in eternity. Eternity is eternity. So we need to start pulling back when we get drowning in our sorrows and real pain, whatever it is, whether it's body pain or emotional pain or the pain of a divorce or a breakup or a loved one that has passed or a pet that has passed, whatever your current pain is, we need to pull way out. And also those people have, so her mother, to some extent, and I don't know all the details, but generally dementia isn't something that falls upon you and strikes you. There's emotional components, there's metaphysical components, there's food choices, there's heavy metals, there's medication, there's a perfect cocktail for almost every disease. So in some ways we don't think we're making the choices to develop diabetes, or we don't think we're making the choices to develop cancer, but many of us are, Kat, and I think you obviously know that as well.
I agree.
And so I know that's heavy, but we have to also, we want to have free will and power, but we need to also have allowance for the loved ones in our lives. I had an aunt who passed at 40 from juvenile diabetes, and you would say, well, she didn't choose that. She made a lot of weird choices, though. She was in a horribly, horribly abusive marriage. Do you think that could have hastened her death? The man she chose to marry, the marriage she chose to stay in, do you think that could have stressed an already stressed system? So we need to get this global picture. And there has to be some acceptance that this is short. Her mom's going to be free very shortly, probably, very shortly, in an eternal viewpoint. And again, we're not taught to have eternal viewpoints. We're taught to have what's in front of us. Ow, this hurts. Ow, this hurts. And then we tend to kind of get in this downward victim spiral. And believe me, I've been the biggest victim of it all. But you know what changed, Kat? Was when I stopped and I said, you know what? No one's coming to save me. I tried for years to find a man to marry and take care of me and my 4 little girls.
There are no King authors to come riding to your rescue.
You are everything.
Exactly.
You are it.
You rescue yourself. That's my favorite line from
I love it.
Pretty Woman. The one that's he says, Richard Gere says, well, what something along the lines of, well, what happens when he comes and rescues you? And Julia Roberts said, well, I'll rescue him right back.
Yeah, there you go.
Because that's what relationships are. And you can spend all this time, like you said, make your plan. Because if you don't have a plan, if you don't have what your next step is going to be, then you falter around in the darkness. And even if you're carrying a flashlight, you don't realize that you could just turn that on. And you can see the path. So,
and I have this thing I say, Kat, I say to my students, I say, everything matters and nothing matters. So even if you totally F up this life, or you think you were dealt a painful hand, or you choose to be a victim, it doesn't matter. No. You have an oversoul that is all wise, all knowing, all loving, totally supportive on the other side of this. And it's all going to be okay. Probably a lot quicker than you think, because you will look back on all these lives. Your time here in 3D on Earth is just such a fraction of eternity.
Yes. And people forget that because it does seem so hard. I mean, when you have the things going on that you are having to, you're having to slay dragons and
totally.
fight through the swamps and get through all the things. Well, that's so overwhelming sometimes because you feel that you're all alone. And that's when you need to become a little introspective and recognize that those things are transcendental too. They're not going to be life experiences, not the only life experiences you're going to have. And
it's like a breakup. I think that's
oh my gosh, I thought I would die.
What
right?
you just said. Yeah, what you just said. You're not always going to feel. I mean, we've all, I think as women anyway, maybe not men, but we've all laid on the floor. At least I have. I could barely breathe. I thought my life was over. This is so silly now when I talk about it.
Right, but at the moment it's very real.
Exactly.
And you can't see your way through it because it's fresh. And nothing will ever be good again. Nothing will ever be the same again. Well,
That's
heck
right.
no, it's not going to be the same. Who wants somebody like that? Kick them to the curb and go and live your life.
Exactly. I'm with you. Yeah.
I get that. And I tell you, I lived a victim mentality for a little while until I realized it. I was like, why am I still giving power to these people that were just terrible, terrible people? And I certainly don't want to encourage that. And, so how do you, well, we're going to have to go to our real break. But when we come back, I would like to discuss that if you don't mind. How do you recognize that this is not your forever moment? That, it's like with an elderly parent. They're elderly. My mother is healthy as a horse. She will outlive everybody with her Alzheimer's and dementia, right?
Wow.
So she's going to have an interesting world. But, it's just an interesting thing to contemplate. But like I said, we're going to take our break and we will be right back. Thanks for listening. Y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM-DB. Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk. Only on Paranormal Experienced Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I'm so glad you're here with my guest, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. And Kimberly, we were talking right before we went to break about, I brought up my mother, who is healthy as a horse, going to outlive the world with her Alzheimer/dementia self, right? She has her own little world sometimes, and she is really interesting with that. And she will tell me stories about how she's murdered people and stuff.
Oh, wow. Maybe
but
she has.
when she's through, when I'm getting ready to go, she's like, I didn't really kill him, right?
Wow.
Okay. I'm so glad that you clarified that, because otherwise you'd be in Detweiler, the women's prison right now.
My God.
But there's stuff that you have to deal with. But even I realize that this is not a permanent thing. It's as healthy as she is and as fun as she can be when we're doing these things. Although I have thought that I was going to be taken to jail for conspiracy or something. But seriously. But it's just, it's not going to be a forever thing. There's going to be a time when that's not what I'm coping with. And I hope that is far, far away in some galaxy somewhere. But realistically, when her mom was my beacon, and she still is. When I air quotes lost her, I was not in Birmingham, right? I wasn't there when she died, and I let her down a lot. But she's not lost. I can still communicate with her when she's in the mood or around. I mean, I'm sure she's gallivanting everywhere. But somebody probably had a great sale. But but it's not actual losing them. It's that they are transitioning, right? And you can still communicate.
Well, absolutely. They are, when we pass, we are the exact same person that we were, as far as not necessarily age, but as far as age, if we were zillions of years before we passed, and we're zillions of years if we're a baby, younger, a couple hundred years or less, then we're still that. But as far as the dementia is the body, the dementia, her mother no one's mother or has dementia of the spirit. It's impossible. The spirit is eternal, powerful, all-knowing, everything, and so as soon as someone who has dementia or any disease, emotional, physical, spirit, whatever, they pass from the body, they are whole in mind, whole, and emotions don't exist outside of the avatar, by the way. That's another whole big discussion. Right. But there's better things than emotions in the multiverse and in other realms, a higher way of being, which is hard to understand, but there is. And I've had little tastes of it in this life, but not very many. We get drowning in our emotions, but there is no death. So some of these beings, your grandmother, your husband, your dog, may want to converse with you, may want to be around. Some of them may be on planets light years away doing their own thing. And here's what we need to understand, both in this life and in the multiverse, is it's free will. So we may still resonate. There's a reason why people get divorced. And one of the most common reasons people get divorced, for example, is because they say the term, we've outgrown each other, meaning maybe one person completely changed, liked different things. One person, maybe got better, one person. But the point is we grow apart. And if you really think about your whole life, like in college, Kat, I thought I would talk to these girls that I was in their weddings and we had our babies together and we traveled across the country. Do Do you know how many people I talk to from college now? Zero. You know why?
Probably none. I don't.
Yeah, because I'm 25 years, 30 years outside of college, and I've created a whole life. I've had a whole family. I've been divorced. I've been all over the country. I've built a business. Like, we aren't resonating on the same frequency level. It's the same thing with your grandma. I mean, yeah, grandma was all for you when she was here, but maybe grandma's, created a couple planets and she's running planets. And I'm sorry, grandma does not owe it to you to come hold your hand.
Nope.
Just because you ask her. She can say no, just like you can say no to someone coming to your house. No, you can't come over today. I have to clean. Or yes, you can come over. I'd love to have you.
I just
we think when you die, you become like nothing, like all these beings, including extraterrestrials or subterrestrials under the earth, or the Sasquatch, or they all have their own individual personality. They all have free will. They all have their own desires or not desires. And we seem to think that we have this manipulative ability just because we were married to someone and deeply in love here. I hate to tell y'all, if you're zillions of years old, you've had a heck of a lot of wives and husbands and children and mothers and fathers, and you've been them all and you've done it all. And you've had many soulmates. And yes, maybe you have had multiple lives with the same man or woman. Of course, there is no man or woman. Spirits, by the way, are not male or female. They're just spirit. Again, avatar is the limitation of male or female. So we have all these false conceptions. Yes, there may be people you've spent thousands or millions of years, with in different relationships, father, daughter, right. Sister, friend, husband, wife, lover, on and on. But also these people have also chosen to have relationships with other people. So then we can come down into our society and start looking at marriage. What should marriage be then? If people outgrow each other, divorce isn't this horrible thing. Divorce is like, okay, we've been there, done that. We've totally changed. We don't enjoy being together anymore. Let's gracefully let each other go. So right. Things run so densely here, Kat,
And people don't, I think, really realize that. When I do a paranormal investigation, I am often aware of, if it's a location I've been to in the past, I'm aware of what I interacted with then. Right?
Sure.
Or feel like I did.
Sure.
And so I'm looking for those people too. But I'm not locked in, I know those people chose to communicate. If they're there, they probably will again, but they're not necessarily going to be there because they don't have to be. And apparently I have a dog with an ear tickle. But
I just wondered. I think that's so cute. I could tell your dog was shaking. I think it's cute.
Well, they are. I have 4 in the room with me.
Oh, my goodness.
And my husband is traveling. So goodness knows what you're going to hear in the background going on. So,
love it.
But I do find that quite often it's the same personalities that are there. There's one place in particular that is a jail, and the sheriff basically is there all the time. That was only from the 80s.
That's common, though. I mean, I think if they're passionate about their job, they may want to stay on this plane. They may want to stay. We find that too, where with people they love, or places they love, or things they love. I think that's kind of common too. Not everybody goes off this plane when they pass, absolutely, or stays off this plane,
I apologize, but Sherry in chat says that she disappears about the comment about them not being male or female. She has seen a full body apparition, clearly a male, and found out later that it was the owner's brother who had died in the bus. Plus, what about clearly male or female EVPs?
Wait, clearly male or female? I didn't hear the last one. They can choose to appear however they want. Yeah, they're going to appear in a way that is going to communicate to you. But spirit, I mean, please explain to me how a spirit is. We're not talking about, I think we're getting confused between spirit as a human discarnate that recently passed or semi-recently passed within a couple hundred or thousand years, and pure spirit, pure consciousness spirit that is broken off and been an expression. Pure spirit is nothing. It's whatever it chooses to be. It can manifest as a tree, choose to be a tree. It can manifest as a planet. It can become a dog. It can go into the avatar of a person. It can go into the avatar of a Palladian. It can go into the avatar of a plant. It can, true spirit chooses to be whatever it wants to be. Absolutely not male or female. It's not even human. Human avatar is just one expression of millions and billions and trillions of possibilities across the universe. We've got to wake up, because this is coming on us fast. You guys have to get caught up. You're going to have replicators in your home soon. You're gonna be exposed to the Star Wars bar with plenty of races. You got to catch up. Spirit is not what you've been told. Male and female. How can spirit be male or female? The baby doesn't even form male or female right away, as we know. And a lot of things they tell us about that's wrong, but that's one of the true things. Like, it doesn't even form male or female till what, 15 weeks, something like that, Kat? I'm not sure exactly, but around there, I think.
Well, I know that we had to wait till a certain time period so that we could get the ultrasound of our coming grandchild, so that I would know if I got to buy Ruffles or not. But it's
there is male and female though on many planes, but again, it's an avatar. It's a choice. You have gone back. If you are a fire creation spirit, you've been male many times and female many times. You may have a preference, and you may not. You may get bored and switch it up. I mean, if you're a fire creation spirit, you have been both many, many, many times. As a spirit, you are consciousness. That's it. How you choose to express that, is up to you.
Well, I actually do believe that, simply because of things that I've come across, but in personal experiences. I think that it confuses people, especially people in strong religious backgrounds.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. They don't want us to know. Yeah, right. It is. And I understand what they're saying, and I absolutely agree. I deal with human discarnates all the time. They are definitely a human discarnate. But do you hear the word, Kat? I said there is male and female in this realm, and there is male and female here, we know, in the avatar. So when you're talking about a human discarnate, of course, human avatar, male, female. So I agree.
Well, that's just a whole interesting perspective. It's something that I have found. Sometimes spirits are not who you think you're talking to.
Love that conversation. That's a great oh, baby, yeah.
But, and to me that's fascinating, because they are presenting in a way that they feel like you're going to be comfortable. And not unlike in the movie Contact, where Jodie Foster's character has gone through the wormhole and is interacting with a being that looks like her dad, down to everything. Right. And when she was like, but, whoa, this isn't you. He said, no, but we thought that this would be a way that you would be more comfortable interacting.
And you know what? That also works in the negative. So the succubus and the incubus and the rape entities that violate people at night, sometimes they also sometimes appear as an ex-girlfriend, someone who's passed, that you had a sexual romantic. So that works both ways. That works in the positive, like, we want to approach you in something you're familiar with, positively, but it also works in the negative.
Well, yes, so that they can gain access because they feel that you're going to trust
100%. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a whole nother weirded thing out. But we've got to go to our top of the hour break. I cannot believe our time is just flying by like this, but it does when we talk. So this is going to be a news break, and God only knows what you're going to find there. So May the force be with you. And here is your tribute salute. And we'll be back after this. Y'all come back too.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Syndio. Their pay equity platform helps you analyze and resolve pay disparities with ongoing fair pay insights that stop issues before they start. Syndio, lead the way in fair pay. To find out more, visit syndio.com.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. The Delta variant is sending a record number of kids to the hospital just as they return to school. The FDA is promising to move quickly on vaccine guidance, but as NPR's Amy Held reports, it's still awaiting data from Pfizer and Moderna on vaccinating children younger than 12.
It's the question top of mind for many parents. When can my child get vaccinated? Dr. Ashish Jha, Dean of the Brown University School of Public Health, says the data is driving the answer.
I think it'll be soon, but my hope is we'll see that data in the next month and shots will be available to go in by the end of October.
Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy tells CNN vaccinating kids is the FDA's top priority.
They are ready as soon as the companies finish their trials and get the data to them to process that quickly, to review it and make sure our kids have a vaccine that is both safe and effective.
In the meantime, experts say testing, masking, and distancing can keep kids in school safely. Amy Held, NPR News.
Tropical storm Nicholas is expected to strengthen as it heads to the Gulf Coast. The National Hurricane Center says coastal parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mexico could see heavy rains and flooding. Stacy Stewart is a senior hurricane specialist.
Spreading eastward along the entire Louisiana coast by Tuesday night and especially into Wednesday and even Thursday. So while the direct impacts from the storm won't be there in terms of wind and storm surge, there will be heavy rainfall.
And he says Nicholas could make landfall on the central Texas coast late Tuesday or early Wednesday. Surge warnings and tropical storm watches and warnings are up for the Texas coast to the coast of Mexico. Nicholas, which has maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour with higher gusts, is expected to drop up to 10 inches of rain on parts of Texas and southwest Louisiana through midweek. In northern Iraq, Kurdish authorities say explosive drones have targeted the Erbil International Airport. Neda Hamzi reports the attack is the first following a lull in what had been almost routine assaults targeting U.S. presence in Iraq.
The attack, which occurred late Saturday evening, caused no casualties, the Associated Press reported, citing officials in the Kurdish-run region. Such attacks on U.S. troops and the U.S.-led coalition in Iraq happened frequently until 2 months ago. This is the first such attack since July, when rockets landed in Baghdad's Green Zone, which houses the U.S. embassy. The U.S. blames Iraq-backed militias for the attack, although the militias rarely take public responsibility. The United States says it has maintained troop presence in Iraq to help thwart what remains of the so-called Islamic State group. There are currently 2,500 U.S. troops in Iraq. For NPR News, I'm Neda Hamzi in Beirut.
U.S. futures contracts are trading higher at last check. You're listening to NPR News. The head of Iran's civilian nuclear program says Tehran will allow UN inspectors to install new memory cards into surveillance cameras at its sensitive atomic sites and continue filming there. Since late February, Iran has restricted IAEA inspectors from accessing those surveillance footage as Tehran deals with the nuclear war with world powers has collapsed. The announcement could buy time for Iran ahead of an IAEA board meeting this week in which Western powers had been arguing for Tehran to be censured over its lack of cooperation with international inspectors. Japan says it has detected a submarine believed to be from China in waters near several of its southern islands in the East China Sea. The BBC's Michael Bristow has more.
While Chinese surface vessels regularly sail near Japanese territory in the region, Tokyo said submarine incursions were rare. Japan has dispatched a destroyer and aircraft to track the submarine's movements. China has not commented. The two countries were involved in a territorial dispute in the East China Sea over islands controlled by Tokyo but claimed by Beijing. Over recent years, China, as it builds up its navy, has sent a greater number of vessels into the area in what appears to be a direct challenge to Japan.
The BBC's Michael Bristow reporting. U.S. futures contracts are in positive territory. Dow futures contract up about 0.3%. NASDAQ futures contract up about 0.2%. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Fate Mag Radio. I am your host, Kat Hobson, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And I just have to tell you that I'm so excited for the things that we have out. We have a mermaid issue. I love mermaids. We have other things. And if you want, you can just message me. You can message me at Fate Mag Radio. You can message me under my page, Kat Hobson. And I have an issue or two that I can share with you. So if you'll just let me know, I can also send an electronic copy. Just reach out. We'll make it so. And that is courtesy of Phyllis, our editor, and she is Fate Magazine. She is wonderful, brilliant, and one of the smartest people I know. So I am glad to welcome you back. Our first hour was off the chain. I am with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and she is just all the things. Everything you want to be, she's the full package. We have discussed paranormal interactions. We have discussed all the different ways of being able to manifest your future. And Kimberly, I am going to go public with this. It's a little scary, but I am not the world's most organized person. And I got tired of being harassed by my family that think that's a joke. The thing that you said about creating the will, creating the plan, using verbiage to make things manifest, I decided I was tired of being disorganized. Which is really something else. But and I have had that moment before, and I just couldn't seem to get my groove on. And I have just been, taking small bites out of the elephant. So I will work on a room, and I'll get fed up with it, and then I'll move on and do something else somewhere else, and get tired of looking at that room and change. But I never move stuff into another room unless it genuinely is going to have to go there. So what you said about, you can change your environment. You can change how your home looks. And I did. I completely have a vision for what I want it to look like.
But you added something very important that we don't like to add always. You added the action step. You took action. You are physically breaking that down, and doing, we don't always, sometimes we say we're perfectionists and we can't get into this project because we don't have the time, or we can't do it right, or we don't have all the stuff we need. But a lot of that is just excuse. You can do it like you're doing it. You can save the money if you need like an organizational tool. And a lot of times we don't need all the organizational tools they tell us, that we need.
No.
One of the
if you
people
have
that's
less
really
stuff, you don't need any of it.
What'd you say?
If you have less stuff, if you quit being attached to things, and that's a big step. Too. That's a big step. That's very difficult. And it's because I think we feel like if we're holding on to this, then we can't possibly die because we have all these things to do, or things that, we have to maintain or whatever. I think it's a way to feel like we are relative.
Well, it's distraction. We're taught to be consumers, and even we're taught to hold on. You can't get rid of like family heirlooms. I had a hutch cabinet of my grandma's, and I asked the girls if they wanted it, and they're like, no, but you have to keep it because it was your grandma's. And, someday we might want it. And I'm like, no, because I like space. That's another thing we could talk about. You want to connect with yourself. You have to have space. You can't have all this clutter. Everything's frequency. You can't have all these letters from like 85 old boyfriends and 3 ex-husbands and all your college friends. And it all puts off a frequency. every single item, and you guys have thousands and thousands of items in your home, it clutters a clear energy that you have to work against. And a lot of it isn't positive. But I had this hut and actually put it on some kind of eBay thing or something, and someone came and got it, and I had a little twinge. But guess what? Unless I do get, and I could, Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or dementia, my memories of my grandmother are not in the hut. They're in my mind. They're in photographs.
Yes.
They're in my heart. I don't need a hut to remember my grandmother, but that we're programmed that we do. We're programmed we can't get rid of stuff like that if we don't want it or need it. It's interesting.
Then we're just terrible people. Well, I've got, and I am holding onto these with no known reason, but my dad's mother was a quilter. Old school with the frames and everything, right?
I love that.
And so, I just was like, well, this does not seem to be doing me any favors. I have got these beautiful hand-stitched quilts and hand-crocheted afghans and whatever in my basement. And
wow.
I'm like, I should sell those because I value them, and I do have my own, but somebody else would value that too.
That's right.
And so I just came to the decision that I was going to not have them in my home anymore. So I'm working on the steps toward that, but you have to make the decision. And it's just like anything else. If you're going to, be taking a life-altering course of action, you have to plan that to a degree. And sometimes you just have to jump, don't you?
You do. And there's nothing wrong with keeping that too. If you love something, by all means, keep it. If you are passionate about it and you love it and it means something to you, I'm not saying you have to get rid of it, but do you need, I think you brought up a good point, Kat. Do you need 80 quilts or would 4 quilts work for you? Like you said, do you need, 75, crystal things, or could you keep 1 or 2 and someone else could have the pleasure and joy, of the other ones? So
I have so many individual teacups and saucers that would just shock most people because I don't need china sets.
Wow.
And I've inherited a bunch of different sets of china over the years. And I don't do formal. We used to, but I don't now. And I don't have formal dining, so I don't need that. But I do like a nice cup of tea.
Interesting. So. Just interesting how we hang on to stuff, like you. And it's just programming about everything. One of the things I gave up trying to simplify and create more space in my life is I gave up all dressers. So dressers is just another thing they tell you. You have to buy a dresser to keep your clothes in, right? Drawers and drawers and drawers. And then you end up putting a bunch of other junk, usually, if you have a big dresser. But anyway, and you have to have these big closets, big walk-in closets to hang all your clothes. Well, one of my favorite people is Minimalist Mom on YouTube. Have you watched her, Kat? And
I have, but I follow the simplicity plan.
Okay.
And it's the same mindset.
Okay, I'm going to have to look up yours too and see if I can get any hints. But one of the most beautiful things she gave me was I'd been wanting to get rid of my dressers, but I didn't know, I thought, well, maybe I'll just hang up all my clothes, or mostly, in the closets. But she has this amazing system. It's her laundry system. You guys can look it up if you want, but you buy these baskets, and I have a laundry room. Not everybody has a laundry room. Some people just have a laundry closet or they go to the laundromat, but I am blessed to have a laundry room. And we put up shelves, and I have these baskets. Do you know how cool it is to take my stuff out and throw it in these baskets? I don't even fold my clothes. I do hang up a few things that are nice, but why walk across your house into your closet and into your dresser? It's time, people. I don't want to spend my time putting away laundry. I want to spend my time playing with my dogs. I want to spend my time with my kids. I want to spend my time writing books. I want to spend my time in my woods. I don't want to spend time with my laundry. And so
I hate laundry.
we need to become more present. And again, what do I want to spend my time doing? And am I okay? I mean, how does it harm my life I don't care what people think of me. I got rid of a bunch of dressers. I have more room in my bedroom. I feel great in my bedroom. There's more space. There's more room for my dogs. There's more room to move around. There's less to dust.
That would be my fave.
It's just, we're just so programmed, and different cultures are programmed differently. Have you heard of that? What's it called? Is it called Scandinavian or something called death cleaning? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard about that? If you're watching those videos or those, it's talking about how to give away family heirlooms and stuff before you pass. So like you have a meaningful conversation, like for example, a teacup, like my grandmother got all these teacups at her wedding. So I would take a teacup over to my daughter and say, you know what, I'm going to give you this right now. And I'm going to tell you the story. And so it becomes more meaningful than like after you die and it's 7 generations later. And they're like, what are these teacups? And they're thrown out or trashed because nobody took the time to share the meaning, you know what I'm like, the story behind the item.
That's fascinating and so dadgum true, because this is really bizarre. I was just thinking the other day that, you know, if something happened to me, and something eventually will, then, you know, I think right now I still have 2 sets of china to get rid of. And one of them my dad brought back from France when he was over there for the Berlin crisis for my grandmother, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's so pretty. But I'm never going to use it, even though I love it. But it's so hard to just take a tea set out. And I have 2 grandparents' silver tea sets that I'm just like, you know what? What the heck? And I think that this all comes back to, you know, if we have, you know, the thing used to be he with the most toys wins. Well,
that's right.
If they're not going with you.
Yep.
When you go, they're not, you know, except in the bin. But Sherry says that she has a baby hamper in the original vintage Winnie the Pooh, over 50 years old. It was hers.
Oh my goodness.
And she used it for her boys when they were babies. But why can't she get rid of it? Because you've been told you can't.
Well, and again, if she loves it and she likes looking at it and it brings back those memories, I get it. Like, keep it by all means. But also, again, by no means does she need that to remember her boys or her boys when they were baby, you know? So again, we just need to evaluate. I like to say, I encourage my students to evaluate every single pen, every single pencil, every single rock, item, crystal. I mean, because they're all giving off these frequencies either. And we're able to film them with our technology, and you guys would be shocked at how much dark energy. Also, there are entities and negative spirits that can jump into your stuff. The more stuff you have, if you don't have a lot of stuff, there's not as much stuff for your stuff to become possessed. We've all watched, I think, Haunted Collectors. I don't know if you've had some cases about that. The other thing is, I'm going to go opposite for a minute too. So at the same token, if there's things you guys love that light you up, that just like makes your day better. I love certain kinds of art. And I even told the girls, I'm sure my girls aren't going to keep most of my art. I said, don't just throw this art out or sell it at a garage sale. This is worth something. Like, you know, get a auctioneer or get an art dealer or list it on eBay. Like, you know, don't just, this is money here, guys. But I don't care about the money right now. It brings me pleasure and it lights me up. So I'm not telling you guys not to have things, but maybe some of the things you have are holding you back from the things you really want.
I think that is an absolute truth.
You know,
that's an absolute truth.
I'm not saying don't have things that light you up and never buy anything at all. But I'm saying, you know, kind of like the Marie Kondo thing, like buy stuff that lights you up, that adds to your life, that you chose. Not that your great grandmother you never knew 7,500 years ago bought, but stuff that lights you up. Sheets or beds. I mean, I got rid of a virgin wood from the 1700s bed that had been in the family for years. You know why? I got sick of hauling it around. I didn't want it. Didn't fit my decor. It meant nothing to me. Does that make sense? I mean, it's hard.
We've all done that, right? I mean, we have all done that. Oh dear, we're at a break. How does this keep happening? But
I don't know. It seems like you're saying that. That's the only thing you keep saying.
well, we will be right back. Y'all come back too.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? You see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the labor. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of, a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And I'm Kat Hobson, your host, who is tripping over her tongue here or there tonight, and that's okay. But I am so having fun tonight. I have fun all the time, but this show has been just off the chain with the bouncing and the topics and the really neat, fun things. My guest is Kimberly McGeorge, and I am trying desperately to get my mouse to function so I can let you listen to her too. There we go. And Kimberly, Dr. Kimberly.
It's okay.
McGeorge. So sorry about that, but I am just enjoying you so much. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
And yeah, we were talking about the things that we wind up attaching to. And, you know, I think that sometimes those can also develop as attachments. Right? I mean, if there is such a draw to something. I've had this happen in a thrift store, girl. I was actually going to purchase something, and as I reached out to touch it, because I just had to have it, and it was a very odd thing for me, it felt gleeful, right?
Wow.
I felt its energy. The energy was glee. And I was like, oh no, you are not coming to my house. Nope. And I was in Ohio, of all places, at a thrift store killing time. And this was just an entirely inappropriate thing to come home with me because I felt that. So, you have to be careful what you have in your home.
You do, because you can have attachments and cordings, which are different, a little different in energy, to items, to places, places you've lived, to land, to homes. Sometimes we need to people, of course, we need to dissolve those cordings. Not all cordings, we have limits. I used to run groups. Gosh, I know how I ended up when I say this, of 400 or 500 people. So I would do an hour to 2 hours teaching and energy healing and interacting with 400 or 500 people. And you're like, oh, well, that's no big deal. I mean, it was online.
Oh, yes, that is. Good
and you
heavens.
think it doesn't affect you, but it drained me. It drained me to the point that after 9 months of having groups that large and constantly being in 500 to 1,000 people and more on, different shows and different classes, energy, I had a breakdown. I couldn't do it. And when there were many factors leading up to it, but I think one of it was those people were cording into me like straws. Literally, when I see cords, people stick straws in other people and they just suck them dry, especially, like teachers or even like you, Kat, could happen to you, public figures. We do it to each other. We do it to our friends. We do it with our spouses. As a matter of fact, a lot of what people don't know is one of the reasons, there's so many reasons you need to be careful who you get into bed with, whether it's sexual or just sleeping, because we find through testing on the technology that sometimes the husband's taking from the wife or the wife taking from the husband, or they're both sucking each other. And you wonder, there's many reasons, of course, of what happens at night, but one of the reasons you can end up tired is because your partner is literally cording into you, vampiring you in an essence, or, attaches to you in an unhealthy way.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times in 3D language, we would say there's a codependency, but we also see that in the actual energy. And you only have so much energy when you wake up. The mitochondria and the cells will light in your body, and it tends to dim. We're able to see this also on the app. The life force energy tends to dim at night, which is pretty natural. You get into bed to be restored. But what if you're getting into bed with someone, and this isn't necessarily sinister either, and it may not be conscious. Now, some people are sinister and conscious, or the beings in that person are sinister and conscious, but it can also be unconscious. It can just be abandonment needs or love needs, or they have their own physical or mental or emotional issues. And so they do tend to vampire the people they come in contact with. As a matter of fact, I can't walk into public, a restaurant, Walmart. I don't go to Walmart very much, but any place like that, a park, without getting jumped on and by entities and courted to. And so I immediately come home. I told you right before the show, I was out to dinner with my son and my daughter and son-in-law, and I had to take a shower because a lot of the lower level entities don't like water. So I want to come home. I want to get off as much as I can, and then I'll work on the rest before I go to bed, because we also don't know that there's many beings that we can't see in the fourth and fifth dimension that they love your guys' light. They love higher frequency beings. They like awake people. They like, people that can see and work with the paranormal, like Kat and like some of you guys. So yeah, what you don't see can't hurt you.
Truth. And, the weirdest thing about that, though, is that you won't really feel the vampire. I call it like energy vampires.
Yes, me too. Yep.
You won't really feel them. And then all of a sudden you're exhausted. You can't focus. You can't accomplish anything. And it's just all you can do to get up.
True.
So I have to be careful with that. I am not to the point that I won't go to a Walmart, because I do love a good deal. Okay. Or they have something that's specific that I need. But I do try not to be 100% what word am I looking for? I try to be focused on what I am actually looking for when I'm there, because that way I can get in, I can get out. I am aware that there are problems with energy when I go there. So it is something to think about and to shield. You really need to shield when you go there.
Now be conscious of your energy field, conscious shielding. Mm-hmm.
You know,
you can carry crystals. I mean, Tektite you can carry in your pocket.
Yes.
A lot
I
of the
carry
ground.
obsidian.
Yes, I was just going to say that's a good one too. Absolutely. Shungite is wonderful for absorbing.
I have a shungite pyramid.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
That I got when I was out in California at an event. And it's the best thing I ever got as far as protection goes.
Yeah, it absorbs a lot of EMF. It absorbs a lot of negative energy for sure.
It's just awesome. And, you know, it's this woman, I have another one, but I'm not really sure what it is. It looks like a whole lot of different things with copper, with different stones, with all kinds of stuff. I'll send you a picture of it later.
Yeah, see it. Yeah.
But I got it from the same stone dealer who was at that event, and it is just beautiful. And for those listening, I will post a picture of it on my page. But it's really interesting because two of the corners have broken off.
Oh, wow.
Not the stone itself, well, on one side, but like just little corners. The black under it has been damaged somehow. And on one piece, some of the little copper beads look like they're trying to escape. They can't, but it looks like it. But maybe you can tell me, because I don't have my paper about it. The shungite was such an astounding thing and new to me that I made sure that I had it actually in the notes on my phone so I could, constantly research that. But if you're looking for protection, you can find it in all kinds of things.
That's true.
But that's funny that you brought it up. And do you know that's the second time in 2 months that somebody has brought that up, that I was... one time weird. I was a guest, and then now when you brought up the shungite. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. It is very powerful. It just the frequency it vibrates at absorbs. Not all, a lot of crystals vibrate high, and like quartz is not an absorbing crystal. That's a singing, active crystal. But shungite is a lower, heavier frequency. They use it a lot in Russia. It's very famous in Russia. And some people, there's something, you guys can look this up. It's called shungite water. Some people even drink it to absorb like negative radiation from like really high, well, the radiation's high all over the planet, but really high radioactive sites, or when they've been exposed, they know they've been exposed to radiation. So yeah, I want to look that up. I don't drink it. I haven't researched it enough to feel comfortable drinking it, but I know that that's done in other cultures.
I just can't even imagine that, truly. I would not be comfortable drinking that.
It's kind of like, what is that? Oh gosh, it's black. I can't think of it though. I know black lava salt is like awesome. Oh my gosh, awesome to drink. It's highly electrical. Like, there's like a black lava salt, lemon juice. I think you sweeten it. It's like nasty, but it like highly electrical, highly cleansing, really raises your frequency. So some of these mineral, because it's just a mineral, and of course we're really deficient in a lot of minerals. You just have to be careful, because of minerals can tip over into toxicity, and that's why I won't, do anything that I'm not familiar with. But everyone
some vitamins can too. I
did
not
absolutely.
know that.
Yeah,
I had I was at a toxic level of D3.
You were, Kat? Everyone's
deficient
and in D3. That's crazy. That's so unusual.
Well, my doctor was using it. I was taking a lot of it, and it turns out they wanted you to do that for COVID. Who knew? But I went and had my blood work done by a different doctor, and my regular doctor because, I was due, and got the numbers, and I took them to my holistic doctor, and she was like, okay, you need to drop back on the D3. She was using it to help with calcium in my blood, and it turned out that was actually not the correct application for that. So that was another thing. But it was really very frightening because it was like cognitive things, and it was actually bad for me in the cardiac sense as well that she was trying to avoid. So we had to sit down and figure that out. And she's a great holistic doctor. I mean, she's an MD plus doing the naturopath kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a great herbologist.
Wow.
But that was just one of the things that we missed the boat on.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, come now.
That's interesting, because
how long is it going to take for me to be normal? And she was like, you've never been normal. She was right. So.
I love it. Yeah, that's what most people are deficient in, D3K2. D3
I was
calcium.
taking the DT. I was taking the K2 with it.
Yeah,
that's why I was absorbing so much.
Still overdosing, so that's super interesting.
Well, a little scary, but
it
very
is
interesting.
It is. That's why I love the quantum technology, because, of course I have it, and the people that have it, run it every day, and we get to see how the body changes. So when your doctor even gives you, like you said, like even vitamin C, which we think is harmless, you might not need vitamin C 20 out of 30 days, but you're taking it. So you're just flushing your money down the toilet, and your body has to break that down and flush it out of your body if it doesn't want it. So it's also stress on your body. So we're just taught really crazy stuff about your body really does change every day and what it asks for and what it needs. And we do have the technology now to be able to daily assess that. So I think it's pretty cool.
I do too. But boy, we did get off track. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. We're just jumping all around. We've been doing it.
We do that. I swear we are going to have to do this much more often. Sherry would like to know your opinion on saging homes or putting salt around
you
them.
guys have to go watch my videos. I have strong opinions about that. I do have a YouTube video if you also want, after the show or sometime to watch it, that I talked about. So we actually have that programmed into the technology, and sometimes the house does ask to be saged. I think the sage is good at moving stagnant or low-level entities or energy, but I can't tell you the beings that laugh hysterically. I've seen when people have saged homes they literally snicker, because most human discarnates are not going to be driven out by sage. Sherry, Kat, this is true. The human discarnates don't care unless they don't like the smell or they're super repulsed by it. They don't care. There is intention and energy from the indigenous cultures, of course, with it. So if you put some intention behind it, it can be more powerful. I use black sage. If I sage, I find that has a higher frequency and things tend to scatter. So you can sage a home, and then I'll find most things that were there before, if you haven't added things to it, done other things, will come back fairly quickly. So again, do I sage? Absolutely, a couple times a week. And would I do it in a paranormal situation? I would not. That would not be my go-to for a negative haunting or a possession. Absolutely, 100% not. Resin has a little bit of stronger things, like Palo Santo has a little bit of a higher frequency.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a range. I don't know. I want to get your opinion on this, Kat, because I think, again, different entities, different energies, different beings, the elementals, they respond differently to different things. And again, these beings and creatures and discarnates are individuals. And some may be like, hey, this house is full of smoke, I'm out of here. But they'll come back 4 hours later when it's clear. Some may be like, I'm out of here, that stuff stinks, I never want to smell it again, and I'm gone forever. So there is no one size fits all. And that is the most pat answer. Don't you think everybody says that, Kat? Oh, just sage and the spirits will go away.
And, there was a kind of sage that my friend Lori had for another friend of ours was having activity in her home, which was highly unusual because she is very controlling of her environment with spirits.
Nice. Good for her.
So Lori, but this thing was just in her home because I actually heard it speak. Usually that happens when she's on the phone with me coming from my house, but this was at her house. And Lori is listening, so I'm going to ask her to put in chat what kind of sage that was because I would like to know.
Good point too. Different, again, there's a million different kinds. It could be harvested wrong. It could be not potent. It might not be fresh. It might not have a high degree of essential oil. I mean, there's a million reasons why sage couldn't work, even if it would work too. So that's a good point. I like that you brought that up. I'll give you guys something that works a lot better than sage if you want, if I can, Kat.
Oh, please. Yeah. It's about you.
Okay. So we call it the curry pot. And have I talked about this on your show before? You get like a little fondue pot, or you can pick them up for like under $10, or a little potpourri pot. And you plug it in, and it doesn't matter. Curry's made up of a number of different spices. It doesn't really matter. It's the intention and the basic. Curry's pretty basic. You get some curry powder, not just a tiny thing. Make sure you get a decent amount. Fill up your little pot. Put 3 or 4 teaspoons of curry powder and stir it up and run that for 3 or 4 days. Yes, your house will smell like an Indian restaurant, but pretty much that's gonna most things that are negative do not like the curry pot. So that's a cheap, expensive, kind of passive. Just make sure you keep filling it with water so your house doesn't burn down and you don't blame us. Not that I necessarily think it would, but you know what I mean. You have to keep filling it with water, and of course, be just like you wouldn't leave a crock pot on for 4 days unattended. Just use your head when you're dealing with electronic appliances. That's all.
And Lori said that the sage that she suggested was doTERRA clary, CLARY sage.
Oh, see, that's a completely that's completely different than the common sage that most people use. So that's good that she clarified that. And like I said, I use black sage. So we both use a departure from the normal, sage that most people use. So that makes sense to me. That's actually super high frequency. That makes sense to me why that was useful.
Well, I think so too. And I'm going to tell you, I have the best audience because they all do this, and the ones that don't are just so interested in it. But we are going to go and take our final break. So y'all come back and put any questions you have in chat because this is your time. I already have one, so we'll address that when we get back. We'll see you on the flip side.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back for the final segment of Fate Mag Radio here tonight. I'm so glad you're here. We are the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. And, I interrupted you. There we went, doing things. So, first, I have to tell you how much fun this has been, because it's perfect. And, let's see. Oh, would you give the Addy for your YouTube channel?
It is, we changed the name. I think it's The Secret to Everything by Kimberly McGeorge is what we changed it to.
Alrighty. Well,
So
I
just type that in. It should come up.
Well, that was one of the questions. And, we discussed the saging homes. What do you think of putting salt around your thresholds? I've got a reason for that question, but she included that there.
Oh, that's really interesting. Salt. Okay, so my problem, I'm just going to tell you my problem with salt. Absolutely, intention historically for some beings stops, works, but it also traps things in. So I generally don't use salt unless I'm doing a salt circle for a positive type of ritual for protection, because unless I've spent a lot of time thoroughly top to bottom making sure there's nothing negative that I want to trap in, I will not salt like windowsills, doors, boundaries around my house, because you trap things in.
Yes.
I
learned that the hard way. So
me too.
It's a lesson you don't forget, though, right?
Right. Yeah, go ahead and try it. I mean, it's all learning. It's all good. Even when we make our mistakes, very few. I find very few mistakes in the paranormal world, as scary as some of them can be. They can be disconcerting, but I haven't made any like deadly mistakes. Maybe you have, but I haven't.
I didn't make any deadly mistakes, except that in my overzealousness to get this house sealed, I sealed everything with the entity still in the house with us.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was like, oh gosh. And I was very thorough too. And I was just like, what am I going to do? So I went to the bathroom vent and I turned it on. And
Smart.
I was like, well, I had to do something. There was a whole house full of people. They didn't need that attaching to them when they left or anything. So I just sent it skedaddling out that vent and sealed it. And bada boom, bada bing. Nobody died. It was a good thing. But I was just like, oh my gosh. What is, we're going to have to just alternate shows to be able to get even come close to getting a full topic covered. But what is your most bizarre? Sherry said, suck them spirits right out of there. Yes, ma'am, I did. Fortunately, they didn't fight back. But what is your most interesting cryptid experience that you've had?
Ooh, my most interesting cryptid experience. I've had a couple. My daughter and I have a picture to back it up. I don't know where it is, but I'm going to try to find it and get it to you. But my daughter and I were on 11 acres of property that I actually put money down on and bid on, and was on the side of a mountain around here. And what I didn't know, but I came to find out, is that underneath this mountain is a military base. Fun stuff. So I would have been living over a a deep underground military base, you guys.
Oh,
not
my
this
word.
military base. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a whole nother show. But anyway, so this property is on this mountain, and the cryptos kept building all these really welcoming structures, beautiful tree twig, structures, and I was really excited to live there. And my daughter and I were there, and there was like this tree that had been pulled across one of the paths to go further up the mountain, and it even had some like weird like wood latch on it. And we were like looking at that, and my daughter says, "Oh my gosh, there's people in these woods." And I'm like, I highly doubt there's people. There's
As we know that term, yeah,
other beings, cryptids, a Sasquatch or whatever. And so she said over there and pointed, and with my naked eyes, which I can see, I have the sight, but I didn't see anything. But I took video, about 5-10 minutes of video. Went home a couple days and we left. She was like flipping her lid. There's a man. I'm like, okay, we're just gonna go, because I knew it was a man, but like the hair kind of stood up on my body, and so you need to pay attention to stuff like that. Of course,
yes, you do.
That, And so
always
we left.
trust that instinct.
And I reviewed the video days later, and oh gosh, right where she pointed, where I took the video, there was a gray alien holding a probe, standing next to a white Sasquatch and a black Sasquatch. So one of the things about Sasquatch and dogmen that they say is that they have a strong extraterrestrial and military-based connection. The military gets involved a lot when people have sightings of dogmen, and we're talking physical sightings in the fur, or the military gets involved when these creatures are shot or they've captured them. And of course, they don't want us to know this, and we don't hear a lot about, but I know in Oklahoma there's a channel a couple guys do about dogmen and Sasquatch, and they talk a lot about the military coming in with helicopters and hauling these beings out. It's crazy. You guys should listen to some of that. But anyway, so after I saw that video, and I can get you that picture, oh my gosh, I decided, you know what, I think this was a little too much action for me, especially with a military connection. So I withdrew my bid from that property. That's one of the most, I have tons, but that's one of the most intense. I thought it was pretty intense. It could have been more intense.
It gets my vote.
If that gray had stuck us with that probe, I mean, what was it doing with that probe in its hand? That's kind of disconcerting. It was, yards away from us. So I'm glad my daughter kind of forced us to leave.
Well, I think that was an excellent instinct on her part, because that would be so scary. And I have had encounters where, just with the craft, not to my knowledge with any kind of abduction scenario or anything of that nature, but there are things that make me go, whenever I am listening to an experiencer group session or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends was leading one of those groups.
Oh.
And the more that's what she does. And
cool.
The more she kept doing that, she allowed me to be there not as media, but as me.
Okay.
And so I just turned my media badge around and sat and listened. And when she was showing pictures and stuff, I was so uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
Like toe tapping uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I really got to go uncomfortable. And she does regressions. She's brilliant. But it was so wild because I had never had any inkling that could even be a possibility. And she said that my reaction was that it's kind of a visceral fear. And it was, oh my gosh, this is awful. No, I got to go. And I still feel like that from that conversation. So.
Yeah, there might be something more to that, Kat. We might have to look look at you on the tech and see if you're like, I don't know if I looked and saw if you were like MyLab or an SSP or ET contact, all that stuff.
Well, can you ascertain if they're actually in communication?
If they're actually what was the word before communication?
Yeah. If there's actual communication.
Yeah. I mean, we can tell because it's in your field if you've been communicated with, or are ongoing being communicated with.
Okay. Well, I just thought it was so fascinating because, like, I'm a hammock sitter or hammock layer.
Oh, me too. Oh my gosh, I love hammocks.
We are so kindred souls. But
yes.
I was out in my hammock one afternoon, but I was on the phone and I saw this really funky colored big cloud come up. It's the only cloud in the sky. And as I'm watching it, I'm on the phone with this person and the tip came out and it looked like an inverted pie pan. You know, just the edge of it was all I could really see very well, but it was definitely metallic because no clouds. It was very sunny.
Wow.
And I said, you're not going to believe this. If anything happens, tell your dad. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So I sat there and I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't wave. Hey. I just sat there to see what it would do. And eventually it pulled back into the cloud.
Oh, good.
And then it was just gone. And the reason I stayed on the phone was because if there was lost time, I needed to know that.
I wondered about that. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Well, I do know enough to try to document.
Like you didn't remember if your memory wiped.
Yeah.
You weren't?
I don't know. And the person I was on the phone with stayed on the phone with me through the encounter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, because I did not, stuff happens, right? I mean, but then I have the ones that come over the mountain when there's a meteor shower and they sit in a couple of the constellations. I mean, I see them come and then they stop and they're in a constellation, and I've reported that.
Wow.
And, but I just figured that they like the meteor showers too.
They probably do. There's probably something with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not there on the average night, or I don't see them come on the average night. But yeah, meteor showers are late, and I have just talked your ear off for the last part of the show. We've got about 3 minutes left. Why don't you tell people what you want them to know?
Yeah, we got some free classes and free stuff on my website, secrettoeverything.com. You can go to my YouTube channel. I have, I answer some, like we talked about the sage thing. And I do, I demonstrate my technology, showing how it can be used to evaluate, different things. So that's kind of interesting if you're interested in the technology. We have monthly groups. You can get little scans. You can ask us questions. Just go to my website.
And it's both of these are www.haelo.com/secret to everything. And then again, secrettoeverything.com. www.secrettoeverything.com. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be on your YouTube site here just in a hot minute. But seriously, I love a chance to learn. And I think that what you do, you're so diverse and your skill sets are so just beautiful for everyday use. I enjoy you. I am glad that we were connected.
Oh, vice versa. Thank you so much.
I have fun with you. So, for those listening, it's just about time. And, Sherry says, great show. Thank you. So, I think it was too. A lot of fun. And I am trying desperately to get my book to open without awakening some sleeping beast somewhere.
Oh, no.
But I do want to let y'all know that I am actually going to be welcoming, I believe it's this week, this is the wrong calendar, Micah Dank back. And he is the writer that we've enjoyed so much. And last time he came, he educated us about the book of Revelations. And when he comes back, we're going to be discussing the book of Enoch. And this information is relevant to his writing, and he learned so much as he was doing the research for his books that he just shares that. And I am so glad. And if you have not read his books, then you need to. I will post a link to that on the show page. But thank y'all all for listening. Y'all are the reasons that we do these shows, and the reason that I go and I find ways to get in touch with fabulous guests, just like Kimberly. So, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, thank you for joining me. I enjoyed you.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate all the questions, all the comments, and thank you for listening.
And before we go, I just want to make sure, y'all who listen constantly know what's coming. But, there is so much angst and frustration and just unhappiness. You can fix that. If you're dealing with that, be the change, okay? All you have to do is just be the person that you'd like to have for a friend, or a neighbor, or a spouse. Just be the best you that you can. We have the ability to manifest the reality that we want. It starts with us. So don't just take a negative. You can change it. Be the positive that offsets that. Love to all. We'll see you next week, and take care. Good night.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.